toe-to-toe with the league-leading Cubs, walking off with a series win to finish the homestand 5-1. San Diego the site for the start of this road trip. Tanner Roark goes in Game 1 on a perfect night at Petco Park.
It hardly seems like the Nationals were home for nearly a week. So here we are right back on the road after a long three-city trip. It's another one. And Nats fans on the West Coast hoping to see this ball game go 17 games over 500. Bob and FP, what a wrap-up to the homestand. Almost an historic game as far as regular season affairs go for the Nats. Yesterday, you could feel the atmosphere, and the guys delivered.
Yeah, it was a fun plane ride out here, to say the least. But with what happened yesterday at Nats Park, you're wondering how they respond today against the Padres. They got in late last night. A lot of energy spent in that game against the Cubs yesterday. We'll see how they respond. And
Dusty Baker doing such a great job all year, using his entire roster. Guys getting days off, and that includes some of the starters as well. Jason Worth has looked very rested, refreshed, and effective lately.
I mean, it's a great point you're making. He's had days off. He's a young Jason Worth. The walk-off on Sunday. The mob scene that ensued in right field. I think the Nats' new thing is walk-offs that go into the outfield. Jason Worth was telling me yesterday, as he almost went yard to walk off the Cubs in the 12th inning, that they were thinking about just taking it out of the bullpen into the tunnel. So I'm just seeing a Jason Worth Carp that maybe at the twilight of his career is really soaking all this in, really enjoying what he's accomplished. It's been fun to watch. Yesterday's game was one of the best regular season games I've ever seen. So good for Jason Worth. The club is playing well. They got a great vibe coming in here at San Diego, and they're looking to get to 20 games over 500 maybe in this series.
By the way, we noticed that, soaking it in, a post-game celebration. Come from behind wins, the Nats have had a bunch of them, and it's that sort of thing where everybody chips in. Heisey, Drew, guys off the bench, guys that are starters, and everything's clicking for this ball club right now.
Yeah, complete team effort. And when you're going up against a team like the Cubs, I mean, yesterday it was the best of the best going at it. The cardiac Nats, you look at the most comeback wins this year. This team has heart. You can use all the cliches you want, but that's the one that comes to mind for me. They have heart. They're never out of it. They never give up, and they've just been fun to watch.
And part of it as well is the pitching staff. Tanner Roark and Joe Ross, these so-called 4 and 5 starters, they've got ERAs lower than the other guys in the rotation. And Tanner was great here in San Diego last year. In fact, he's 2-0 against the Padres with 0.45. More from Petco straight ahead.
Takes a while to get to the airport. 5-hour flight. But when you get off the plane, you're in San Diego. And it's a 4-game series at Petco Park. Here come the Nats. Let's talk about these so-called 4 and 5 starters, Tanner Roark and Joe Ross, each with 5 wins, and the ERA is very respectable. NFP, they're averaging at least 6 innings per start, and that helps out the bullpen as well.
Well, when you got the big 2 up front with Steven Strasburg and Max Scherzer, you need some support behind him, and Tanner Roark, I think, is the best-kept secret in all of baseball. And don't forget, he loves to pitch in San Diego. In 2014, he had a start here on June 6th where he went 8 shutout innings, gave up just 3 hits, struck out 11 Padres, and walked nobody. Yeah, it was 2 years ago, but yeah, it was also the last time he started here at Petco Park. He likes to pitch here.
2-0, 3 games, 2 starts against San Diego. So our fans putting the whammy on the other guys while our guys continue to play defense. So if you enjoy watching the #1 defense in all of baseball, enjoy until we go to commercial. Baseball on Masson, brought to you by PNC Bank, for the achiever in you, and by Eastern Lexus. Some things are simply impossible to ignore. The strikingly designed Lexus NX Turbo and Hybrid. And the mere sight of Tony Gwynn with a bat in his hands, it just makes you want to play ball, doesn't it?
This makes you feel better.
What a man, what a hitter. We miss him so much. He did one of the great interviews with us on Masson about 7 or 8 years ago that we've ever had on this network in this ballpark. So Tony Gwynn on our minds, Jason Worth in the forefront, the Nats and the Padres on a perfect night. 71 degrees. Humidity middling, mostly clear skies. It'll cool off as the night goes on. Let's talk about Stephen Drew. He knows all about San Diego pitching, by the way. In his career, 8 homers, 40 RBIs against him. Having been with Arizona last 4 games, doing it all for the Nats, whether as a starter or coming off the bench. He replaces Murphy tonight and Eric Johnson, 26 years of age. First start against the Nats.
Fastball, slider, curveball change. Fastball averaging 90 this year. 28-year-old has his second start as a Padre. The first one didn't go so well. 4 2/3, 5 runs, 9 hits against the Rockies in Colorado on the 11th.
Yeah, and it's kind of unusual. The Nats are facing both ends of the James Shields deal. They hammered Shields in Chicago. Here's one of the guys who came over here for him. And we're underway right at 10:10 Eastern time with a strike to Ben Revere, who against the Padres career has hit .323. Johnson working quickly, and just like that, it's 0-2. Jerry Davis, the crew chief, 35 years in the big leagues. Carlos Torres, rookie umpire at first. Brian Knight, 16 years. Second base, Sam Holbrook, 19 years at third. And there's Dusty, just a day into his 68th year. What a birthday present the other day.
Pretty good one. think it's important for the Nats, if you want a little scouting report here, to score early tonight. After a lot of the energy and emotion they spent yesterday, the long trip on the West Coast, they'll be okay for the first hour of this game. After that, it's going to go quick. Anytime as an East Coast team you come to the West Coast, you're starting at 10 o'clock, right? So you're standing out there around 11, 11:15. You start to get into that daze.
And Revere will fight one off, and a hit taken away by Alexi Amarista. He's not their everyday shortstop. They also have the former White Sox star, Alexei Ramirez, but Amarista getting the start tonight.
Yeah, pretty nice play by Alexi right here to start this one up. Robin Ben Revere, you're thinking that's fallen, and Ben Revere's on. There goes a no-hitter, not so fast. Amarista with a nice running play. And the 5'5" shortstop for the Padres gets real big there on that play.
Yeah, that keeps Revere off base with a hot hitter coming up in Jason Worth. 12 for his last 28. Ten RBIs over 8 ball games, 10 walks, 6 runs.
I don't know that I've ever seen Jason Worth enjoying life more than he has this past week. 2 walk-off hits, that's the shortest span all season by any player. And he just seems like he's enjoying every minute of everything lately.
His hair, his face, his uniform, soaking it all in. Everybody's seeing Eric Johnson in person for the first time. And Worth a good rip. It's off to the right. Strike on the outside edge. Worth not sure if that was a swing or he meant to try to take it, but it is 2 down.
I think you called that strike perfectly based on the swing. Here's a defense for the Padres. Behind Eric Johnson, Upton Jr., Jankowski, Kemp the outfield, Amarista, Schimpf the left side, Solarte Myers the right side, and Christian Bethencourt behind the plate. Alexi's 5'6". I just said 5'5". I shorted him an inch. That's a big deal. Us little guys don't like that. My bad, Alexi. 5'6". See?
Okay. I don't want that fire plug to come up here and fight the hydrant. And here's Harper.
I can take him. I'm 5'9".
Bryce, 446 career against San Diego pitching. Maybe something that'll help him really get it going on this trip. The Nats need this guy. They're hitting 282 in June. So everybody picking up the slack, and you might be surprised by this. The only team hitting higher in the month of June than the Nats, the Padres, 284. Wilson Ramos with Zimmerman and Murphy getting the night off is in the cleanup spot. And Harper to the right side. Jan Hervis Solarte. 1-2-3 on a great play by Amarista, a strikeout and a grounder. They're still coming in, and some curly W's part of that action. I think we have our row as the best dressed in the ballpark already settled.
Yes.
For the night. So here come the Padres. Familiar names. Matt Kemp, his bat has come alive for this ball club. Melvin Upton Jr. also doing well. Will Myers healthy for the first time since last year. And Matt Kemp has always hurt the Nats. Career 8 homers and 30 RBIs total against Washington pitching. 6 in the league with 15 home runs. And so it's Tanner Roark's 4th career appearance, 3rd start against San Diego.
All right, you know the repertoire. You've seen the arsenal. Get this. He's allowed 3 earned runs or fewer in 10 of his last 13 starts. Why is that important? Because when the Padres score less than 4 runs, they are 5-31. That's right, 5-31. That's a 139 winning percentage. So if everything in that category holds true to form, Nats are in good shape.
Travis Jankowski, their leadoff guy. And Roark buries one inside on the edge. 0-2. There's Andy Green, Padres' new skipper. First year, 39 years of age, from Lexington, Kentucky. He was a 200 hitter in parts of 4 big league seasons with the Diamondbacks and the Mets, and some coaching experience in Arizona. Roark had the leadoff man reaching, and that's a foul ball. Over to Clint Robinson.
There's your defense tonight for the Nats behind Tanner Worth, Revere Harper, the outfield. Espinosa Rendon, standard left side. Drew Robinson, couple guys with a day off. The bench guys in there. The Wolf Pack, if you will. And Wilson Ramos behind the plate. Big knock yesterday for Wilson.
And hopefully, in just under a month's time, this is a ballpark where some Nats will be having some fun for a couple of days.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of frequent flyer miles, you're thinking.
All-Star game is here. Town's excited about it. Banners, t-shirts, jerseys all over the place. And a breaking ball in the dirt. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Travis Jankowski. Bryce still among the outfield leaders in votes.
That's the 6-hour flight time change look right there.
That's the look that I don't have to pitch in my hometown and I'm really relaxed. Up the middle for a base hit by Jankowski. That was his 50th at bat in 45 games this season. 13th base hit. 25 yesterday from Lancaster, PA, or Lancaster, as they say locally. So Steven Strasburg got a no decision against the Cubs, but he got the Nationals into the 8th inning. His next pitching assignment will be at Dodger Stadium.
18-2 his last 27 starts.
Important player for the Padres is Will Myers, longtime American leaguer. He was beat up when the Nats were here last year. He's healthy now and he's doing a big time job. He could be their all-star. Batting .281, 72 hits, 8th in the league, 14 home runs, and he's hitting .325 at home. Jankowski went in sort of strolling back to the bag.
Did his foot pop off and was his glove on there? I mean, you're looking for little things like that now.
Carlos Torres, the umpire over there.
Got a big lead, doesn't he?
Front foot to the cut of that grass. He's holding. So Jankowski, 5 out of 8 this year. Close with a nice low throw from Tanner Roark.
Yeah, sometimes you're throwing over to see if he's going. Based on Jankowski's lead and Roark's move, he's throwing over to pick him off. Most of the time, just a recon mission. You're seeing if he's tipping, if he's going, but Roark's looking for an out.
137 stolen bases in the minor leagues. So a ball 1 count to Will Myers, and he chops one foul. Myers been around the big leagues for a while, since 2013. He was the American League Rookie of the Year when he hit .293 with Tampa Bay. Last year on the DL twice with left wrist tendonitis, only played in 60 games. Padres got him as part of an 11-player, 3-team deal. That included two guys named Joe Ross and Trey Turner. And Steven Souza Jr. ended up in St. Pete.
Padres could use those two guys. Every time I look at Will Myers, I think of Dale Murphy.
Good call. Myers originally signed with Kansas City in '09 as a catcher. And then he was traded to Tampa Bay. Ironically, James Shields involved in part of that deal. There's danger on deck for the Nats. Matt Kemp always has been solid against our pitching staff. 2 balls, 1 strike. Tanner holds on to it way too long. 3-1.
I'd be less than honest if I didn't say I don't know how the Nats are going to do it tonight. I really don't. Based on
so it's that big of a deal.
It is, based on the last homestand, the start times, getting in late, having to get up early for the Saturday day game, the 4 o'clock start yesterday, getting in at 2. I mean, yeah, am I whining? Yeah, but I just don't know how they're going to do it. We'll see. They'll surprise me if they're on top of their game tonight. Let's just put it that way.
3-1, and Roark walks Will Myers. In many instances, a starting pitcher will fly to the next destination ahead of the ball club. Tanner, with his teammates last night, that's the way he wanted it.
Well, he'd have missed the best game of the year, but you can fly out all you want, but if you got 8 zombies playing behind you, it ain't gonna help. Lots of coffee in the clubhouse tonight.
Here's Matt Kemp, 6th in the league in homers, 7th in runs batted in. First Padre in the lineup who has faced Tanner before, 0 for 1. So good speed out there. A couple of guys who've stolen a combined 13 bases. 0-1 to Kemp, and Roark slips 92 by him. Matt Kemp this year, 64 strikeouts, 5 walks.
It's starting to heat up though. 2 for 4 yesterday with a run and a double. 4 for 11 in that Marlins series with a home run. But as we've seen in the past, when he was a Dodger, sinkers in right under the hand, sliders down the way, make him aware of the fastball in, and then throw the off speed off the plate away.
Like that?
Yeah. It's got to make it look like a strike a little bit longer.
13 starts this year. That's before tonight, and 7 first inning runs all earned. Up the middle. Too hard for Espinosa to get to. Jankowski scores, and the Padres are on the board. Matt Kemp, RBI number 44.
Well, big in a lot of ways. You got a pitcher with just a handful of major league starts pitching for you. Now he's got a lead, so that should relax him a little bit. And Matt Kemp, who's been swinging it, doesn't try to do too much, just right back up the middle. Ground ball found a hole, 1-0 Padres.
Yangervis Solarte, their cleanup man, hitting .273. And he'll go out to left. It's slicing back to Jason Worth. And for the Nats, a productive out. No movement possible on the bases. Upton is next. So the Nats, when scoring 4 runs or more, and with this pitching staff, 33 out of 39. Not very good, under 4 runs. And since 2012, it only takes Zimmerman and Harper just under 3 at-bats to get an RBI on the average. And there's Tanner Roark's numbers, career against the Padres. A complete game, 3 games, 2 starts. They're hitting 103, at least coming into tonight. And here's Melvin Upton Jr. And sneaking in behind the runner, Stephen Drew. The former B.J. Upton on the upswing, 5 for his last 11. 9 home runs, 30 RBIs.
Yeah, 3 for 3 with a homer yesterday.
Yeah, Padres able to salvage the last game of a 3-game series with Miami. Runner going to third, base hit. That ball's 3 feet lower. It's a double play and the inning's over. But Upton got it into center field and it's 2-0. Will Myers running and scoring.
So Upton now 4 for his last 4. And you see sinker just elevated enough, and it seems like the Padres aren't trying to do too much, just going right back up the middle with everything. Not trying to pull Tanner Roark. Short, compact swings. Base hit mode. Line moving here in the bottom of the first.
28-year-old third baseman Ryan Schimpf. He's from New Orleans, played at LSU. Made his major league debut just a couple of days ago. In fact, 2 days ago, and he had a double in his first big league at bat. 0 for 6 since. They picked him up as a minor league free agent after a number of years in the Toronto organization. And there's an old familiar face for the Nats, catcher Christian Bethancourt, who has found new life here in San Diego. Up the middle, but there's a shortstop there this time. So the shift gets the Nats a couple of outs and prevents a huge first inning. So Roark down by 2. Ramos coming up. The Nats right now at the forefront. Wilson Ramos, the reason the game got 2 extra innings yesterday. 2 outs, 9th inning, he drives in Bryce Harper.
You remember Miguel Montero going out to the mound talking to Rondon. And I talked to Wilson today about it. He said, if they went out to the mound, if I'm going out to the mound, it's not to throw me a fastball. It was to throw me something else. So he actually sat on that slider from Rondon. He knew that the scouting report was to throw him sliders. So he was looking for it, and he got the big knock. The game within the game.
37 RBIs for the Nats catcher. A possible, some would say probable, all-star. hitting .363 his last 13 games. Strike one. Jeep takes us inside the numbers. And among catchers, I'd say that should put you on the All-Star team right there.
Yeah.
One page, book his flight for San Diego.
But that's smart, right? If you're a catcher in a big situation, you're standing there, what would I be going to the mound for right now if I was pitching to me? It wouldn't be to lay a first pitch fastball right down the middle, right? Not with the game on the line.
1-1 pitch. Ramos a little bit late for that one. Yeah, that's the catcher's version of the pitcher telling his teammate, the hitter, here's how I would get you out. Good stuff. And Ramos, a lot of good stuff this year. Batting average at .335. If he had enough at bats, the Nats would have the first two in the batting race, Murphy and Ramos. Look at him reach out. The ball hits the mound, and he's still strong enough to get it through the infield. Wilson Ramos, his 64th hit.
There goes a no-hitter. The Buffalo did it. Right back up the middle. He's been so good this year. I feel like this is over the line. You know that game they play on the beach here, where you have to stay within the lines and hit it right back. Every ball has been up the middle tonight. Every single one, pretty much.
Does this field have a reverse crown on it or
Yeah.
something? So the shift is on for Clint Robinson. Amarista, the shortstop, the only man on the left side. They've taken the third baseman, Ryan Schimpf. He's out there behind the umpire, Brian Knight.
So this isn't a shift, it's a shift.
It's a shift.
Shift. It's a shift. There we go.
Rendon on deck. Clint hitting .222. He guides one up the middle. Shift, Schimpf, or not. 2 on, nobody out.
Yeah, careful with that. I don't think I'm going to be going there anymore. But there's another hit right back up the middle. It's right back up the middle pepper practice here in San Diego. Everybody is doing it. It's the coolest. Nice piece of hitting.
Anthony Rendon, .326 career against San Diego.
I'm calling he hits one up the middle.
Lately, and we talked about this numerous times, the Nats have been great at the immediate answer as soon as they give up runs. .14 pitches, 8 strikes for Johnson, first inning. Now back-to-back hits. Inside to Rendon, 2-0.
Ryan Zimmerman with the day off. Jose Lobaton making baseball fun every day. He's ready to take some helmets off, I feel like. You know, if that's your job, you got to take it seriously. It's not like you just be at the end of the dugout and go, oh, I'm supposed to take a helmet off. You have to stand guard. That's what he's doing. He's standing guard to take off helmets.
I believe this is the first time we've ever shown anybody standing guard to do that.
The job you don't take lightly.
2-1 to Rendon. Foul tip. Counts even.
Yeah, the scout report on Johnson is he's sneaky fast. You see the short arm stroke that he has. Although it was 89, he got it by Rendon. Per the scouting report, got to gear up.
So after that Mercedes-Benz pitch track, it's 2-2 to Rendon, who's hitting .302 his last 31 games. Johnson 1 pitch away from loading the bases, and there's a dangerous left-handed bat on deck. Stephen Drew has been fantastic. time rip by Anthony Rendon. Mets won their ball game tonight. They were way up on the Pirates, who battled back. But a 6-4 New York win. The Nationals will have to win to stay up by 5. And Washington winning 5 of its last 6, 12 of 16. 3-2 again. Rendon jammed and he fights it off, and the longer he does this, his better chances of getting on base. We welcome those of you who saw the Orioles beat Boston tonight and grab first place for themselves in the AL East. We're in the National League West. Nationals at San Diego down 2-0, but 2 on, nobody out. Top of the second. 3-2 to Rendon, and a good at bat continues.
But you see Anthony Rendon's swing. He's a little bit underneath the baseball. You remember in 2014 when he was locked in, he used to throw that top hand and backspin stuff to left center, right center. So right now he's fighting to get on top of the baseball. And you see all those foul ball swings. There's just a little bit of drop in his swing. Why? You know, when your foot gets down late, you have to create space and get away from the baseball because you're a little bit late with your stride. And in doing so, you get a little loopy. So what remedies that is to start your swing earlier, get that foot down and get it out front. It'll take the loop out of your swing.
So pitch number 9 of this at bat coming. Rendon slams it to third. They're going to go around the horn, but safe at first. Rendon, a good job on a hard hit ball of getting out of the right side batter's box.
Hey, look at this. Andy Green was saying, hold on a minute. I thought he was safe. Pretty deliberate by Schimpf at third base. That allowed Rendon to get down the line, even though he hit it hard. Yeah, he's safe. They're not going to look at that. Good hustle by Anthony Rendon. Now he got first and third, 1 out. Look at him getting down the line. And if you want to be real picky, Ryan Schimpf's got to get rid of that ball quicker. It's called knowing your runner. Pre-pitch preparation.
Here's Stephen Drew. Career just .231 against San Diego pitching, but 8 homers, 40 RBIs. Most of that in his days as a Diamondback. And he hits one high in the air. Out to right center, Jankowski. Ramos at third, and here he comes, and that throw is way offline and enables Rendon to get into scoring position, so the Nats are on the board.
That was not a good idea by Travis Jankowski. Nice job by Stephen Drew. Sac fly. I mean, he knows he has Wilson Ramos at third, but he just launches this. That's an easy read for Anthony Rendon to get to second. That's nowhere near. So now the tying run in scoring position with 2 outs. And a gift 90 feet for the Nats. And does Danny Espinosa get a chance, or is it going to be Tanner Roark? You'd think it'd be Roark. Good at bat again by Stephen Drew.
Yeah, career RBI number 500. His 14th of the year. They're in at the corners, as if pitching to Espinosa and aware that he loves to bunt.
But that's a big deal, Carp.
It is.
500 RBIs. That's huge. Congratulations.
Now with 1 strike, Schimpf at third, Myers at first will back up. I mean, Danny wouldn't bunt anyway. You want him to drive the ball and tie the game, right?
Yeah, runner on second. He's swinging all the way here.
So they were playing in for a bunt, which I thought was a little unusual on the first pitch. I don't know how it missed him. Looked like a curveball that came bouncing in right at him and picked cleanly by Bethancourt.
Well, one thing we've learned, he ain't moving. You throw into me, I'm just going to stand there.
Hey, if I'm tied with F.P. Santangelo for career being hit by a pitch, I'm not moving either.
Hey, he passed me.
Oh, he passed you already?
In the dust.
All right. Sorry, you're old news.
More ways than one.
1-1 to the Nats shortstop.
Can't believe they're pitching to him, to be honest with you.
He'll roll it over to the right side for Solarte. That's it for the Nats. But a couple of singles to start the inning lead to a run, and it's now a 2-1 game.
Here in San Diego. Defensively, Ben Revere is known for his speed and his ability to track down balls in the gaps. But one area that has improved for Ben over the last few years defensively is his arm strength. And we got a glimpse of that yesterday when he threw out Miguel Montero at second base. Revere told me today that after he was drafted, he had a scout try and rework his mechanics and had him doing, as Ben puts it, all kinds of funky stuff. And it got to a point that he dreaded playing catch with teammates before the games. He went as far as to call it the yips to me today. And recently his mechanics have gotten back in line. He feels more natural and smooth, allowing his arm strength to build. And Ben admits he's never going to have the arm of a Bryce Harper or a Michael Taylor. He knows that. But he did say that that throw that he made yesterday to cut down Montero was one he wouldn't have been able to make a couple years ago.
Yeah, we'll take what we saw in that play.
Well, when he was in Philadelphia, the Nats ran right in his face when he played left field. They'd go first to third and center field all the time, and we used to remark about his arm on the air, but he's worked on it, as Dan said. It's gotten a lot better out there, playing a lot of long toss.
So Dan with FP tagging on our Coons.com sideline report. Over 2 million vehicles sold and counting. This is Christian Bethancourt, the former Brave. He is locked in, and he rips that baby. Espinosa on a hop, and it pulled Clint Robinson off the bag. Danny Espinosa will be given his 7th error of the year.
I don't know that that throw was that bad. I want to see that again.
I was wondering.
I thought Clint was going to stretch and stay on the bag, and it was just a little bit to the right of the bag, and I was kind of curious on why Clint didn't just put a foot on the bag and catch this. Maybe it was wider than I thought. This will show it, right? Maybe not.
Obviously, Danny felt it was stretchable over there. And a rare error by him and the Nats. And then on the first pitch, Alexi Amarista with a fly ball to Ben Revere. And there's no way Bethancourt is running after our Coons.com sideline report.
No, they obviously didn't hear what Dan just said. All right, let's see this. Could he have stayed on the base? Questionable.
He took him a ways.
Well, this will show it real well. Ooh. I don't know. It looked like it might have been cutting.
It's a live arm. One on, one out. Here's the pitcher, Eric Johnson. 0 for 1 this year with a sacrifice. Most of his time in the American League with the White Sox. So career he's 0 for 4. Rendon ready to charge. Robinson holding the runner. He's ready.
And the curveball. He gave up on it, then it dropped in for a strike. 0-2. Swing and a miss, 2 outs. Tanner Roark, first K of the night. Top of the order, Travis Jankowski. Jankowski got their party going. First inning with a base hit up the middle. Myers walked. Kemp singled. They were off and running, had a 2-run inning already. And then Tanner got that big double play up ball off the bat of Ryan Schimpf.
Jumbo Schimpf, fried Schimpf. Got 3 more days of that, partner.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what we'll do if he's not in the lineup one of these nights. Oh, 2 now with 2 outs. And the fastball rides high. From Stony Brook University in New York, Travis Jankowski. Padres took him the 44th overall player. Part of the compensation round back in 2012. Let's get inside some numbers. Talked about this earlier. Padres only team in the league higher than the Nats this month. Reds did some slugging when we were there. Rockies always slugging, and the Marlins offense clicking lately as well.
There's only one team in there that has pitching, though. Just goes to show you the importance of the guy on the mound.
You can't win 8-6 every night.
Nope.
Fantastic night. A night when you can get loose and maybe not work up that great of a sweat. Remember last year it was cold here. We had a rain delay.
They did. It was only like the 5th rain delay in Padres history, and one of those was a bee delay.
Oh yeah, the bees. Yeah, a lot of hook on that ball. And the count on Jankowski goes to 2-2. Padres are 27-40, 14 behind the Giants at the start of the day, and at home they're 16-20. Big hook, doubled up on the curveball, and that's it. Tanner Roark gets a couple of strikeouts to end the bottom of the second. He'll lead off in the third. It's a 2-1 Padre lead.
Nats Mets 7:05. First 20,000 fans receive a figurine featuring J-Dub and his dog Magnus. For tickets, visit nationals.com.
You know,
what you don't know, little known fact, he's taught his dog to swear on camera.
I think they shortchanged the dog. He's bigger than Jason.
It is. That thing's huge.
Top of the third. Tanner Roark still hunting that first base hit. Fastball just above belt high for a strike. 35th pitch by Eric Johnson, 24th strike. Tanner 0 for 22 this year. Boy, that's some solid contact. That's going to send the center fielder Jankowski back. He roped that thing to center field. 1 out.
For such a good hitting pitcher, I am shocked he doesn't have a knock yet this year. That ball was tattooed.
Yeah, he's had a few.
Good swing. He's been working hard like all the pitchers do. Got a fastball right down the middle. And hit it right at Travis Jankowski.
Top of the order now, Revere. So the Nats go 2 for 8 with a sac fly first time around the order. Revere robbed of a hit by Amarista, the shortstop, first time up. But it is good to see Ben lately flipping the ball to left field more than he had earlier.
Even that first at bat, he got jammed. You have a chance when you go that way if you're Ben Revere. And he has so many moving parts. When he slows them down and gets them out of the way early, that's when he barrels up baseballs consistently. But he has the hits, the leg kick. A lot of things going on. When those are all right, watch how quick this is right here. Boom, boom, ball's kind of on him, right? You get that out of the way earlier. You get that hand drop stride out of the way earlier. Now you catch that ball out front versus taking it out of the catcher's glove late.
0-2 again. And that one bounced.
You want it to be kind of a boom, boom, boom instead of boom, boom, boom. Right now he's the second one.
That ball hit hard. Wow, no luck out there. That ball took off on Kemp, who had to reach up for it. 2 outs. Jason Worth coming in. Here's Dan.
Bob, Jason's been on fire the last couple weeks. His last 14 games hitting .340 with 17 RBI. I asked Rick Shue, hitting coach, earlier today, what's been better for Jason lately? He said direction. He wanted to get Jason back to using the entire field. He said his front hip was leaking earlier on in the season, and he was trying to get Jason to stay in the fire a bit longer. That's the way that Rick phrases it. He says Jason's been doing a much better job of that lately, hitting the ball to all fields.
So front hip leaking means he's spinning out with that front side a little soon. You'll see him sometimes when he takes a pitch, kind of his right foot comes in front of his left. And staying in the fire means just don't bail out of there. Keep your front shoulder in and really stay in that slider. Don't flinch on it. You know, Giancarlo Stanton right now, he's flinching on everything close to him. That's not staying in the fire, if that helps.
1-1 to Worth, and that's going the other way, but out of play.
Well, he gave the kid a ball at Nats Park, and he had a walk and a walk-off hit against the Phillies, so he's figuring, why not? I'm going to make that part of my daily routine. I love it. Love to see stuff like that. And he gave it to the right kid.
Yeah. I like the Chad Cordero look on the ball cap, by the way.
Me too.
2-2 to Worth. And now Johnson has to throw him a strike because Bryce Harper's waiting. (3-2) challenge fastball, and Jason fouled it off to the right. Another hard hit ball. Deep short base hit.
So a National finally rewarded here in the 3rd inning. And here's Bryce Harper.
Give the kid a ball, get yourself a knock. I mean, the Nats, what do they have, a 10-game road trip? I don't think they're going to have enough baseballs. If I'm Jason Worth, I'm doing that every at-bat. Players are superstitious.
Yeah, that's the home team's problem, the supply of baseballs.
Not for batting practice.
Oh, that's true.
That was a good at-bat by Jason.
Now the Nats need a good one by Bryce, who still has not homered in June. It's the 16th day of the month. He is hitting. He's coming into the ball game. .297 his last 10 games. He's always done well in this ballpark, hitting the ball straight away. He wore out left center in batting practice.
If he hit a home run to left here last year, it wasn't one of his best at-bats. It was one of his best at-bats of the year. And I think it was right over that southwest sign, almost upper deck. I was talking to Mark Sweeney about it today, and I've been saying it for a few days. As soon as he commits to doing that again and starts driving the ball to left center field, that's when it's going to start raining hits. You're going to watch the average and all the numbers go flying up. It's going to happen.
One with 2 outs. Petco Park, asymmetrical to say the least. They brought in the fences in center and right center in the last 2 years. The wall is from 5 feet tall to 10 feet tall at various places around that tricky outfield. He likes it here. Off speed. He saw it low.
It's a good take. I swung at that one.
Here's the entire at bat from Nissan. You see a pattern?
That's what everyone's been doing for about 3 weeks. Away, away, away.
Harper goes away. High fly ball, left field. See you later.
That's what I'm talking about.
A June homer drought no longer. And the Nats lead 3-2. There is no telling what that swing can do for Bryce Harper.
Well, I mean, I got goosebumps right now because as soon as he did that, I knew. I mean, it's obviously a good thing. There's Jose standing guard, taking the helmet off. He's been waiting for a while. He can hit home runs to left like a right-handed pull hitter. But a lot of times, you know, he wants to hit the monster shots, the 450 shots, and you can't blame him because he can. But if he does that right there, watch what happens after this is all I'm going to say.
First homer since May 28th. And Bryce's 14th of the year gets him up to 40 RBIs. A towering drive the other way.
And you remember before all the walks, what was the league doing? Before the Joe Madden thing, they were pounding him in. So as a hitter, you get so conscious and aware of the fastball in, and you think, I got to get to that. I got to get to that. And when it inevitably happens, Carp, you get in bad habits because you're trying to get them out of there. They keep throwing you in, and you lose that left center, left field stroke because of what the league is doing to you. So he had the 13-walk series. Then all of a sudden the league shifts and goes away to Bryce Harper, and now he's making that adjustment back.
Ramos pumping on a 3-0 pitch. So the Nats have had 4 hard hit balls in this inning.
I'll tell you what, when managers in the National League turn on the highlights tonight and they see that Bryce Harper hit a home run to left, they're going to think the same thing I'm thinking up here. Look out now.
Chopper to third. Goes foul before the bag. So Bryce, first home run in 19 days. Now he can go ahead and relax and have a great second half of June. And if he gets going anywhere near what he did the first month and a half, this ball club's in a position to really take off.
You think about all the damage they've done this month. It's really been with the Bryce that's been good, but not great.
Ramos to right center. How far is this one going? Out of here. His 11th. The Lumbers out in Southern California, and the Nationals lead 4-2.
I'll tell you what, for some reason, he sneaks into the home run derby. He could do some damage in this ballpark. He really could. First things first, got to make the All-Star team. We think he's an All-Star. Hope the league takes notice, Terry Collins and everybody else. But 2 horns up for the Buffalo. Back-to-back home runs for the 9th time this season.
Yeah, how about that? 9 pinch hit home runs and 9 times back-to-back. The Nationals have hit 89 now, 90 home runs. Wow.
396, 102.
Oppo. How about back-to-back Oppo Boppo here, as Bryce used to call it. Clint Robinson's guys one to center, but it's going to stay well in play. What an inning for the Nationals. 2 lineouts, then a Worth hit to left. Harper opposite field, into the seats, and then Wilson Ramos. That is some kind of swing to watch going the other way. The Nats making a big ballpark look a little bit cozy tonight.
Raiders, one by Bryce Harper, 14, one by Wilson Ramos, 11. DC Lexus dealers, they're donating $250 to the Children's National Health System for the taters you just saw, so keep them coming. It's for a wonderful cause. Lexus, the pursuit of perfection.
90 home runs by the Nats, and it's game number 67. So Tanner Roark back to work, and a fastball up, fouled away by Will Myers, who walked first time up, went to second on a base hit, and he was running from second to third when Upton drove him in for a 2-run Padre first inning. Target in. He missed over Bigelow. So here we are in San Diego. Bonus coverage on Masson for our Nats audience, and then those who saw the Orioles beat the Red Sox. Power on display tonight, and that's a slider in the dirt. 3-1. Tanner does not want to walk the leadoff guy after his teammates just blasted him into the lead. Good swing back on the fastball.
When Bryce took that curveball before the home run, there were so many times last year when I was swinging in my mind at pitches that he took. And when he did that, all of a sudden I said to myself, a light went on. He's seeing the ball again. That was a nasty curveball that he laid off it to get to the home run.
And a bouncer. to the charging Stephen Drew. 1 out.
The curveball, watch how long this is a strike. This is not an easy take. That's a curveball that has elevation early, so the fact that he spit on that and didn't swing gets him to this. Fastball up, he lets it get deep. Look at the balance after. And committing a mindset to drive it the other way, not just cut across it and hit it, was the difference. But the curveball he took was what we've seen in the past.
First pitch swinging, Matt Kemp, a foul ball. He drove in his 44th run.
And if you want analysis on Wilson's home run, he's just a beast. That's all there is to it. I mean, it's pretty simple. Nothing really to break down.
Just love watching that guy hit.
Yep.
Kemp almost went. Counts even, 1-1. Second year in San Diego, Matt Kemp drove in 100 runs here last year with 23 home runs, hitting the mid-260s. He was healthy, first time in a while. Played 154 games. That's a great slide piece by Tanner Roark. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Mercedes-Benz will track it.
Slide piece, slicer, Slide Johnson.
Or slider.
Or slider. That's boring.
Up and away.
Slider. They've been heating up. Swinging it well. Pretty good career, too. Check it out.
Yeah, getting very close to 800 RBIs. That's a good breaking ball by Roark that was fouled.
I'll tell you what, I remember Bryce Harper's first game, and he hit the double, but Matt Kemp walked off the Nats that night, and when he came around third base in Dodger Stadium and the whole place, 50,000, was chanting MVP, it was a cool moment. Even though the Nats lost Bryce Harper's first game, Matt Kemp was an MVP candidate that year in L.A.
Until he got hurt and was on the DL twice. Yeah, he had it going on big time. Oh, down he goes. And that's an off-speed pitch. It's at 83.
Yeah, changeup that got away. I thought it was a fastball. You nailed it. That was a changeup.
Tell you what, when you're going down, you think it's a fastball, don't you?
Yep.
Three-two with 1 out. And Roark can't bolt the fastball to the outside edge. He missed. So that's his second walk tonight. College rivalry day for all you Hokies and Wahoos. Wednesday the 29th. Our second annual. With the purchase of a special ticket, enjoy pregame activities. Get a reusable Nats acrylic cup in your school's colors. Talk a little smack to the other school. And then cheer on the Nats as they try to beat the Mets. Visit nationals.com/college rivalry day for tickets. Well, there's part of the heart of your order, getting the night off and enjoying it.
You gotta be teacher's pet to get tonight off. I mean, tough travel day, not a lot of sleep.
Well, I'd say one of those guys hitting .359 is the apple of his teacher's eye right now.
And the other guy's been here forever, so
I know.
Leave an apple on Dusty's desk, you get the tough days off.
Oh, 2 to Solarte. Took 4 batters for Tanner to get the first out of the game. This guy with a fly ball to left. Now a chopper. Espinosa has to range way over there. He was playing up the middle. 2 down, and Kemp to second base.
That's a good aggressive play by Danny Espinosa. Stephen Drew is playing way to pull in the shift. So if Espinosa's patient, hangs out at second, waits for the feed, guess what? That ball goes through and it's a base hit. The 100th base hit up the middle tonight. Look where Drew is. And maybe a lot of shortstops hang out at second, wait for the feed on the double play, but Espinosa makes a real heady play right there.
Here's Upton. Base hit to left for an RBI first time up, his 31st. Low and away. On deck is a rookie who has 8 major league at bats.
I asked for this close-up, by the way. I
Wow.
want to see what these things are. I see what he's featuring down there.
You know, the Padres do have a little gold trim on their unis tonight.
They do. I just want to see what he's sporting, what brand those are, and you know, I'm a fashionista. I like the style. Look good, you play good. I don't know what brand those are. Adidas, maybe?
Dangerous count here. And Upton all in on the swing. It might have been ball 3.
Cutter.
Probably was.
That thing hung a left, 93 miles an hour.
Upton didn't show him what he could do here last year either. He was out first 58 games of the season with a right foot injury. 2-1 from Roark. That is in there with 92 in the count.
But you see what he's doing? I mean, he went cutter that moved away from Upton. So then he started the fastball, the sinker in the same spot. What did it do? It came back the other way. So Upton's going, oh, that's another cutter. I'm going to lay off. And it actually came back. You like the gold trim?
Yeah. Padres have had a variety of looks over the years. The old brown and yellow of the early days.
Taco Bell unis.
Then, of course, they decided to honor the Navy. Thousands, tens of thousands of Navy personnel based here. So they went to the Navy, trimmed in silver at times, orange at times, and tonight gold. It's a pretty classic look, if you ask me. Fastball upstairs for the strikeout. The needed shutdown inning for Tanner Roark after his teammates scored 3 in the top of the 3rd. After 3, it's 4-2 Washington. The RAV4 Hybrid, all-wheel drive, and unexpected performance. Visit buyatoyota.com. Tonight, beautiful ballpark here, close to the water, right by the convention center and the Gas Lamp Quarter in San Diego. What a fantastic area. When we first started coming here, this ballpark was built in '04. Nets came from Montreal the year after that. There were a few buildings out there. And then came the cranes, and now it's a fantastic neighborhood around here called the East Village area. And a ballpark that gets an all-star game. Last time they had one here was at old Jack Murphy Stadium out in Mission Valley in 1982. Tom Glavine and Kevin Brown started against each other in that game.
I think this is officially the most underrated ballpark in the big leagues.
Well, if anybody had actually come here, they wouldn't underrate it, would they?
No, you're right. I mean, when you look at the shot, that's what we look at. And all the buildings out in center field. The new beach section that they've changed since the last time we've been here in right center field. Just a gorgeous place. Gorgeous city, gorgeous ballpark.
Heard rumors that Mass and Dan could be visiting the beach section sometime this weekend. Just a rumor at this point.
It's not out there, but he should be.
Stephen Drew got the Nats on the board with a sac fly 2 innings ago after singles by Ramos and Robinson and a Rendon hustle play to beat out a possible double play grounder. That's to the outside edge for a strike. So Stephen Drew 10 for his last 23. 4 homers, 9 RBIs, 5 runs in 12 games, including his 14th batted in tonight. There's a changeup that misses. The Nats took Eric Johnson from 14 first inning pitches to 61 pitches through 3 innings. 2-1. Looked like Jerry Davis had a lean going there for a second, then called it ball 2. Long second with 2 hits. Long third with 2 bombs and 5 hard hit balls. Strike call.
Tough one to reach.
Time given. So Rendon on with a base on balls. His 31st of the year. And Drew with that breaking ball fouls it away.
Well, how clutch is Stephen Drew been? Well, how about this clutch? Yesterday, off the bench, lit up the crowd.
That was a pinch hitting appearance with 1 out in the bottom of the 8th that got the Nats back even the first time before they did it again.
And again.
And again. And Drew strokes one to left field. Right there, Melvin Upton Jr. And that's the first out of the 4th inning. And when you have insight, you know how to handle your finances with confidence. It's brought to you by PNC Bank. For the Achiever and you, $2 million for the #1 draft choice, Carter Kieboom. Congratulations to him, the shortstop, and his family. An older brother, Spencer, hitting .275 at AA. Actually, that's his career number. He's at AA right now with Harrisburg, and we saw him in spring training. Wow, what a great week for the family. And Mike Rizzo said the familiarity with that clan, mom and dad and the young men, that was a big part of dealing with them and getting those kids signed. Good to see Mike with us on the trip, and Mrs. R as well.
Godfather.
Here's Espinosa, ground ball to second first time. Widely reported, that $2 million figure. No official announcement from the ball club.
I cashed my bonus check at 7-Eleven.
Well, that's better than Bob Uecker.
Yeah.
When they told him the figure, his dad said, "I don't have that kind of money."
I did. I spent it and I bought a big gulp.
Yeah, you kidding me. 1-2. 1-2 to Danny Espinosa. Breaking ball, a tapper. He's off to the races. And on the run, athletic play by Christian Bethencourt for the second out.
Ladies, it's all about you. Thursday, June 30th. Nats celebrate Ladies Night. Special ticket. Pre-game activities include trivia. Player appearance. I was trying to think of something clever to say about trivia. DJ, fashion show, tailgates, and racing presidents will be there. You will always receive an exclusive Nationals Infinity scarf when you come to Ladies Night. That's 7 to 5 start against the Reds. Go to nationals.com/Ladies Night.
Here's Tanner Roark. Hit the daylights out of the ball last time.
Here's his first hit right here.
That'd be great. Might have an RBI attached to it. That swing buys him a breaking ball for strike one this time around. And he puts a charge into another one out to right center. They looked at each other, and then Jankowski made the catch. I mean, he's the sort of rookie out there. Did not take charge. Then he saved it.
Two lead as we head bottom four. We've talked about the late night of travel for the Nationals, flying cross country, but Dusty Baker said the other day that there are other issues that teams have to deal with when they fly out west, and that's beyond just the travel. Dusty was talking about a lot of players having family and friends that they have out here on the West Coast, so they're spending time with their relatives and their family members. They often like to bring their kids out here to get involved with some of the attractions. He said guys rent boats, they get sunburned. Dusty talking about all the different distractions. He said there are a couple fleas out here, some parasites on the West Coast. Dusty's seen it all over the course of his career when it comes to his players flying out west. He knows it's tough to put all the other stuff aside and just focus on playing ball.
Well, Dan, congratulations on our first Coons.com sideline report featuring fleas. Over 2 million vehicles sold and counting.
It's a guy that's from California crushing the West Coast. But he's right, though. I mean,
it's different.
It's a business trip, and you have to remember that as a player when you come out here, and it's so easy to get caught up in everything else.
That's a high fly ball that for a moment gets out of the arc of the lights, and a tricky play for Anthony Rendon right in front of Jason Worth, and a very good play. Ryan Schimpf with a high fly ball.
I mean, that was hit so high, you're thinking Jason Worth has this all the way, and I think that's the reaction you saw from Dusty Baker. How did Jason Worth not get there? But Nolan Arenado's the reigning Gold Glove third baseman. It's well deserved. But I'll tell you what, Anthony Rendon early in the season is putting together a Gold Glove highlight reel. It's going to be tough to unseat the Colorado Rocky because he's so good. Rendon has been outstanding with the glove all season long. What a play.
Well, we've mentioned this before. He has 3 errors on the year, and up here, we feel the two of them were not called properly.
Yep.
We're talking about a guy who could have one error as he plays his 65th game of the year.
Yeah, and more than that, just the highlight reel plays he's made, the diving plays, the plays on the run, backhand plays to a slide, diving to his left. I mean, he's done it all over there.
10-a-row arc against Christian Bethencourt. Reached on a scorcher to Espinosa first time when Danny's throw pulled Clint Robinson off the bag. Just like that, it's 3-0. Three and one now, so it was a 2-1 pitch, not a 3-0 pitch. Scoreboard had it wrong here, sorry. And he got inside on him enough on that one to get a pop-up. The whole infield's on the move, and Clint Robinson takes it, 2 outs. PNC for the achiever in you, takes us inside the numbers. Well, the Nats can't complain about what they've done here in San Diego. 12 of 18 since the start of the 2011 season. The runs are good, the ERA, starters even better. And they've hit almost 280 with runners in scoring position. Now home and away, the Nats since the start of 2012 have beaten the Padres 17 out of 26 times. And prior to that, it was a ball club they had a lot of trouble with. Nats beat San Diego 5 out of 7 last year. Tanner trying to set down the number 8 man here and have the pitcher lead off next inning. And he gets 0-2 on Alexi Amarista. You know, on top of all that stuff that Dusty talked about, that Dan relayed to us, then there's the ticket list. Trying to take care of everybody.
The time change, too, I'm telling you, it's a real thing. You're not used to standing in the outfield or at shortstop or wherever at midnight or 12:30, and the first 2 days in is rough.
1-2 pitch. That ball drilled out to center, so Amarista will not allow the 1-2-3 inning. So he has taken a hit away and now has one of his own. And the batter, Eric Johnson, who struck out after trying to bunt. First 2 strikes last time up. For the Padres, their 4th hit and their first since the Upton RBI single first inning. Great swing back action on the heater. Nissan will track it.
Yeah, he's got the sinker going backdoor to righties. He's got the cutter going.
Pretty good take by Johnson.
I like this pitch. What did pitch track think?
That the inning should be over. "22 pitches first inning, then 12, then 22 more in the 3rd with a walk." Tanner trying to get this thing into the 5th, and he will on a nasty breaking pitch and his 4th strikeout of the night. Top of the order. Here comes the ride of Ben Revere into the dugout. Worth and Harper to follow. Gwynn, Hall of Famer, number 19, 3,100, 41 hits, 20 years, all with the Padres. One of only 17 players who played 20 years or more with the same ball club. And between innings, I want to thank you. They played on the scoreboard here.
Standing ovation, everybody on their feet. The players didn't take the field. Best hitter I ever saw. You want a Tony Gwynn stat? He would have had to go 0 for 1,183 for his career batting average to fall below 300.
8 batting titles. Steven Strasburg played for Tony Gwynn at San Diego State. 15 All-Star games, 7 Silver Sluggers, 5 Gold Gloves.
And the best dude you'd ever meet.
As great a ball player, a greater person. Ben Revere in the air to left. 5th inning underway. Ben's 0 for 3. Worth and Harper the next 2.
Came around first base as a rookie after lining out to left-handed low liner. Left fielder caught it in Montreal. I'm waiting for my glove. I think I've told the story on the air before. And Tony Gwynn came running by me and said, "Nice swing, man." And I thought to myself, Tony Gwynn just told me nice swing. First thing I did was call my parents and tell them that.
Jason Worth is next. In 2003, I had a chance to be a reporter on the series between the Giants and the Marlins in the playoffs. And we were outside the Giants clubhouse. Tony Gwynn was on the telecast with Chris Berman and Rick Sutcliffe. And Bonds came out of the visitors clubhouse in Miami, and he and Tony Gwynn talked for hitting for 15 minutes while the 3 of us stood there with our mouths hanging wide open, amazed at what we were hearing. Tony Gwynn and Barry Bonds. I think a lot of people around this town have Tony Gwynn personal stories they could tell you too. He touched people in his years here. Worth up the middle, shading that way. Solarte 2 down.
Key in the driver's seat. We're going to show you Bryce Harper's last at bat, his 14th Tater of the year, going the other way. Oppo Taco here in San Diego, where the fish taco is huge. We see that. This is good things coming. We'll see what happens right here. Melvin Upton Jr. going back about, what, 6 rows deep?
Yeah.
Towering fly ball outside, stayed through it. Great swing.
It almost reached the 2nd story of the Western Metal Supply Company as it seemingly came straight down out there. So here's Bryce, 1 for 2. RBI total up to 40. 14th home run. That's his 6th career homer against San Diego pitching. 22nd RBI. And against the Padres now, career he's hitting over 450. There's no major league team in Vegas that maybe being close to home in San Diego and LA will get Bryce on his way for the rest of the summer.
I don't think you could have a team in Vegas. It's too hot.
Oh, you'd have to have a dome. You're getting a hockey team.
Pete Rose couldn't be your manager.
I always thought once one league went there, other sports would follow. So now we'll see, because the NHL is going to Las Vegas. 2-2. There's a 2 for 2 power guy on deck. Eric Johnson to Bryce Harper. Swing and a foul tip, and the inning is over. Eric Johnson gets his second 1-2-3 of the night, and it's against the same hitters as in the first inning. Brought to you by T-Mobile. Edwin Encarnacion, we've talked about him a couple of times over the last few weeks. Toronto is one of the hottest teams in the American League. They're only 2 games out. He's on fire. Colby Lewis of Texas, top of the 9th against Oakland, and he couldn't quite get the no-hitter done. David Wright, well, it's a tough break for the Mets and for David. Herniated disc in his neck, and we wish an opponent we respect greatly, David Wright, all the best. I know Ryan Zimmerman's probably got David Wright on his mind tonight. Played together at an early age. Murphy, a former teammate of David's. Mets have been getting a lot of attention lately with their lack of offense. That's one of the reasons. Travis Jankowski, base hit up the middle, a run scored and a strikeout. Up the middle again, this time Espinosa to his left. He knew he had to hurry. 1 out. Fill out your Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot now at Nationals.com. You can do it on your computer, tablet, or smartphone. Vote up to 35 times. Vote today. Vote tomorrow. How about Saturday and Sunday? Go to Nationals.com/vote. It'll be right here. That ball is cracked right out of here. My goodness. Will Myers got a heater, and it left in a matter of seconds to make this a 4-3 game.
I'm just going to go on a limb and guess that's the highest velocity home run we've seen this year. That was a frozen rope. I'm sticking with the Dale Murphy comparison. That swing reminded me of it too.
Wow. Number 15 for Myers. RBI number 40. 113.
Yeah, I had a good idea that was upwards of 110.
Padres have a hitting coach that used to hit some low liners like that.
It's actually their bench coach.
You're right, Mark McGuire. From hitting coach in LA to bench coach here. 2 outs.
I did the same thing earlier, so that's why I said it. There's Big Mac.
Alan Zinter, a great college player at Arizona, and that had a solid professional career as their hitting coach. There's McGuire, who hit 583 homers. There's Alan Zinter, and former Nats coach Eddie Rodriguez. 10 years ago, from Montreal with Frank Robinson to our nation's capital. What a great baseball man and what a gentleman, Eddie Rodriguez. Yangervis Solarte, 0 for 2. Fly ball to left, ground ball to short. Things are happening quickly here. So there's Worth on the 8th pitch of the inning, and we're going to the top of the 6th. Things a little tighter, but Wilson Ramos, 2 for 2, is next.
Of Arlington to check out the 2016 CLA 250, lease at $299 a month. This guy's not hitting $299. He's hitting what, $340 after a couple hits tonight. There's his 11th home run, his 38th RBI, and he made it a 4-2 game at that time. It's 4-3 right now. What's his average at? 335, 2 for 2. I'm guessing 340.
Yeah,
342.
Still that time of the year when things can go up 3 points per hit. First pitch slider low and away. 90th pitch for Eric Johnson. So his teammates have him back in the game. We'll see if he can hold down the Nats. He has retired 6 in a row since walking Anthony Rendon. Ramos waits for that breaking ball. Drills it out to right center. Jankowski grabs it.
So the 9 back-to-back home runs ties a franchise record, and
it's June 16th. There's left-hander Brad Hand.
Team record.
Nine pinch hit home runs. Clint Robinson 1 for 2. Talked about this last week. If you forgot, the Nats hit a total of 177 home runs last year. That was 3rd in the league behind the Rockies and the Dodgers. So they're on a pace way beyond that, a pace of 200 or so. And suddenly, not having to work out of the stretch, Eric Johnson has turned things around.
So they trail only the Orioles, who have done it 10 times.
Look out.
And they lead the world in home runs. I mean, tune into Masson. It's a good chance you can see a tater.
Nats box featuring 2 long balls tonight. Harper and Ramos back-to-back 3rd inning. Bryce a 2-run shot. Ramos put the Nats up 4-2. Now it's 4-3. Robinson, great ID on the changeup. Clint's hit 2 this year. One out, top of the 6th. 2-2 pitch. Off speed, and Robinson stays with it. Clint told me today around the cage, he said, I've never been in the playoffs, but I think I might know now what a taste of it would be like after what he just saw the last 3 games. He's going to go left side, and that's right where Amarista is playing on the shift. Close. 2 outs.
If that was a Game 7 in the World Series, that would have been the greatest game ever played. And if those 2 teams are lucky enough to meet up in October again, I'll take 7 games just like that. Are you kidding me? Well, I don't know if I could take 7 games just like that, to be honest.
Joe Ross tomorrow. Gio Saturday. Pardon me, Scherzer Saturday, Gio Sunday. And that means Lobaton Sunday, most probably. 0-1 to Anthony Rendon, and he's in the hole 0-2 now. Fielder's choice grounder and a base on balls. And that ball is cracked out to left center. See you later, Anthony Rendon. number 7, and the Nats have their 2-run lead back. How about that sound?
Good chance you tune in to Massey, you're going to see a tater. You remember the one he hit, I think a couple years ago here, where it was a bent arm swing, a fastball down and in. He hit it in the upper deck and left center. This swing reminded me of that. We were all marveling how he got to that baseball and shot it in the upper deck here at Petco where the ball doesn't carry tonight. Very similar swing to make it 5-3 in the top of the 6th.
Don't sleep on Stephen Drew here back to back. He gets a curveball that stays upstairs. So Anthony Rendon scores his 43rd run of the year, driving himself in. RBI number 24, 423 feet.
That's a far one.
And that thing wasn't in the air very long.
Take that, Bob Davison. Think he was thinking that? He didn't say anything and he got thrown out yesterday.
Somebody later told me that they heard the umpire thought he was going to throw his bat at him. I think not.
I saw the video, and you know how I read lips of their argument. Bob Davison was aggressive. He, in essence, with a lot of expletives, told him it was right down the middle.
Well, that was in the final inning. Espinosa hit by a pitch, stole second. Taylor tied the game. Worth won the game. And Drew, hard hit ball and right by Solarte. And he's going to keep on running into second base. So a double for Stephen Drew, and he now is 11 for his last 25.
Locked in. Barreled the baseball, and you're playing a shift. Solarte was playing short right field. He still couldn't get to this ball because it was hit so hard. Boy, he's been fun to watch. Locked in, Stephen Drew. Give me the hit speed on this one if you get a chance. That was a bolt.
I'm going to go 106.
They told you in your ear.
No.
You guys are cheating.
No, they didn't say a word. Survey says.
No, I'm not buying it. Don't even show it if it's 106.
They told me it was, but that was after I said it.
All right.
So here's Espinosa. And fastball delivered right where Bethancourt was set up. Ball 1. That is Carlos Villanueva joining Brad Hand.
Just walk him.
Yeah, they pitched to him with Rendon at second, 2 outs in the second. They got Danny to ground out, but it's a hitter's count right now, and Bethancourt is in the Nats dugout. Ball 3.
He's on Tony Gwynn Drive.
I mean, if you're going to intentionally walk him, just stand up and stay out there.
I'm going to set up in Motel 6, room 205. There you go.
They're going to leave the light on for Danny Espinosa at first base. Second walk tonight by Eric Johnson.
When you think about it, though, that's pretty smart. A lot of pitchers have trouble when the catcher stands up and put his arm out and you have to hit a moving target. Why not just set up out there for 4? Makes more sense, really.
Here's Tanner Roark, who's had 2 good swings tonight. Breaking ball, ball 1. So Ben Revere is next. And if this inning doesn't end right here, Brad Hand will be facing Ben Revere. This all started with 2 outs on the Rendon rocket to left center. Roark pops it up. Foul ball, Bethancourt. And the Nats are gone in the 6th. They strand a couple, they've left 4, but they've hit 3 home runs tonight. Anthony Rendon, look at him go down and get that. So he golfs a 1-iron right out of here, and that's lead 5-3.
Roark was feeling it out in the first. This play to me was huge. The 6-3 unassisted double play to get him out of the first. Then he gets some Ks. First, the Raiders kicker Jankowski goes down. Then he gets Melvin Upton Jr. And then a nasty slider to Eric Janssen for the 3rd out in the 4th. So that double play, a couple runs by the Nats really settled Tanner Roark down.
Roark at 83 pitches, 54 strikes, through 5. You would expect the evening to be over for Eric Johnson, who's thrown 114 pitches. So it's Upton, Schimpf, and Bethancourt for San Diego, bottom 6. Upton struck out swinging on a high heater with a runner at second, 3rd inning. RBI base hit back in the 1st. Well, that thing was a strike for a while. Great pitch. Last season, mostly as a reliever. This season, back comfortable as a starter. Started the night at 2.93. Kind of holding in that area right now.
Mike Rizzo, Max having a chat.
Espinosa not able to get there. Even if Danny gloves that, Upton would have beaten it out. He's 2 for 3. And a reminder, we told you earlier, Padres hitting 284 in June. A lot better than they started the season.
Well, this is a big base hit. In a sense, it's a 2-run game. I don't know if he'll be running, but he has 13 stolen bases. That's 4th in the National League. He's 13 out of 17. You look for Upton to be running here. Would have been bigger if Anthony Rendon didn't homer and it was a 4-3 game, which I momentarily forgot for like 3 seconds.
283 career steals for Upton. Ryan Schimpf, the hitter. That big double play ball in the 1st, and then the adventurous pop-up to Anthony Rendon in the 4th. Upton 13 out of 17. Padres' 3rd most base stealing club in the league. Roark with a fantastic changeup, unreachable for the left-handed batter. So they got 2 of their runs in the first after a base hit and a walk on RBI hits by Kemp and Upton. And then that laser-like home run by Will Myers, 1 out, last inning. Made it 4-3, and then Rendon got the Nats their 2-run lead back with his blast. Good morning to all of you back home. 9 o'clock here in San Diego. BCFP DK, happy Friday to you. Bottom of the 6th, 5-3 Washington. Long hold by Roark here. And the rookie hitter didn't ask for time. Then he takes it outside, 2-2. Shift on, Rendon near short, Espinosa behind the bag. Runner going, swing and a miss. Throw is short. A great pick by Espinosa, but Upton called safe by Brian Knight.
So is that stolen base number 15? Tanner Roark not going back on the mound. Chris Spire on the phone, I believe. And we'll see if Danny Espinosa got the tag down quick enough. Ooh, on the shin for the win. What do you got? This will show it, right? Ooh, I think he got it. Highly caffeinated at this point. I thought he was out for a second.
An extended conversation between Chris Spire and the clubhouse. And the fans not liking it.
No. Nope. Didn't think so.
Upton at second base, 1 out. Bethancourt is next. Wilson Ramos still very good though. Even with that steal, 33% on the year. Now he's going to third, and that time they got him. A short throw again by Ramos. Anthony Rendon, quite a pick. And now you know the Padres will take a look at that.
Upton's not coming off the bag. Pretty good jump, but a better throw by Wilson Ramos and a fantastic pick by Anthony Rendon. It looked out first time. I don't know. I know the throw beat him. I mean, back in the old days, that was enough. I don't know. Might have got in there.
Got to be conclusive.
I think he's safe.
And did Rendon not get the glove in front of the cleats?
That's hard to do, man. Pick a ball and find his foot, slide into the base, because your concentration as the third baseman is gloving the baseball. If it gets by you, it's a run. So once you take all your focus on making the pick, the tag just goes where it's going to go. You don't have time to go, oh, there's his foot. Let me put the glove on his foot. You can do that on a good throw. If it hits you in the chest, you find the foot. You don't have to concentrate on picking it out of the dirt.
Well, Upton convinced that he was safe, never left the bag.
Look, he has to pick this ball. That's where his focus is. If Wilson Ramos hits him right in the chest, his focus goes to the foot because you're assuming you're going to catch it. It's a lot easier play.
Yeah, he looks safe.
He doesn't have time to find a foot and tag it. That's a great pick by Rendon. And you can't fault him a bit for missing the foot if indeed they reverse this call. I think the flashy cleats have something to do with it too, right? What if he had white cleats on?
Jerry Davis, the crew chief, on your left. Call was made by Sam Holbrook.
It's a tough call. It's a big call.
Yeah.
Because it's a runner on third, 1 out versus nobody on 2 outs. It has potential to make it a 1-run game. Meanwhile, Tanner Roark's throwing a bullpen.
Upton steals second and third. 15 steals on the year for him now, and he's there with 1 out.
They got it right. That's a definitive view right there. That second to last one we showed you.
Yeah, hard to have a beef with that, and it's Bethancourt. No balls, 1 strike. That's an RBI. Thanks to Upton. 2 outs. 5-4 game. Sammy Solis throwing for the Nationals. It's Roark against Alexi Amarista. Base hit last time. Fly ball to center first time. And Roark misses down and away. So Tanner nearing 100 pitches. He's gone 6 innings 10 times this year. And it might have redirected off Espinosa's glove, but he couldn't get it. And the tying runs on with 2 outs.
A nice piece hitting by Amarista's second hit of the night. Now it looks like Rosales is going to be the pinch hitter and Mike Maddox to the mound. Yeah, I thought Espinosa was going to snag that one. I think it hit his glove. You're right. It changed directions just off the tip. Tanner trying to jump for his shortstop.
So Adam Rosales will be the pinch hitter. 1 for 2 in that role this year. 33-year-old infielder, big leagues time with the Reds, the A's, and the Rangers. And Dusty trying to get Roark through 6 here. Top of the order due up for the Nats.
You surprised they didn't go left-handed pinch hitter, either Jay or Wallace here?
John Jay's been on fire lately. Brett Wallace swinging the bat well.
Yeah, we don't know if they're banged up and they need a full day. You know, you come into town, you don't know these things. So obviously they know better than us.
Yeah, and all we were told was they were both getting a day off.
Right.
.227 career hitter Rosales. So we've got Wilmington, Illinois against Maine, Illinois here. Rosales would go on to play at Western Michigan. Tanner facing probably his last hitter either way. Has him 0-2. There's John Jay. Hitting .290 right now. And the 0-2 smothered by Ramos. Runner on the move. Got a breaking ball that was sitting up for a while, fouled.
Unreached had a good jump. Gonzalez with 2 strikes can't take, so he had to swing.
Next 5 ball games, 3 of them here. And then 3 night games at LA, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Nats will have another red eye on their way to Milwaukee next week before a day off. One-two pitch, and Rosales hanging tough.
You know, after that walk-off interview Dan did with Jason Worth and how much attention we might lose him in Hollywood. I mean, his star is shining, it's rising, and I don't know if Dan's going to make it to Milwaukee. We'll see.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Worth.
No, Dan. We might lose Dan in Hollywood.
Mercedes-Benz, a lot of pitches up in this entire at-bat. One more out for Tanner Roark to get. And to Rendon, looking the short way. Ooh. Athletic play by Stephen Drew to stay on that bag on a 5-4 inning over. Copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Washington Nationals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the expressed written consent of the Washington Nationals. Historic gas lamp quarter here in San Diego. And we're going to the top of the 7th. The Nats are into the bullpen of the Padres. Back at the Fitz are the Potomac Nationals right now through the 19th, so a short homestand. Lots of fireworks, giveaways, all kind of fun at Fitzner Stadium in Woodbridge. 703-590-2311 or PotomacNationals.com. 26-year-old Brad Hand, the former Marlin. Nats know him well. 31st appearance.
Yeah, fastball 92, slider 83. 2 primary pitches, throw occasional curve, occasional change.
Ben Revere, 3 for 10 career against him. Looking for his first knock tonight. 3 balls in the air.
Had a bullet to right, low line drive his second time up. Was robbed his first time up by Amarista. Blake trying to get hot.
Yeah, Tanner Roark, by the way, at 104 pitches through 6. Revere bouncer by the mound. Solarte boots it. And the Nats leadoff man aboard. E4, that's his 4th of the year.
So the speed might have dictated this. Solarte in a rush because he knows he's got Ben Revere, but he just clanked that one. He looked awkward going after it all the way, didn't he? Look how he's putting his glove down. Not very mobile. Kind of saw that error coming. He didn't look comfy at all.
Padres are the 4th worst defensive team in the league. That's their 49th error. Here's Jason Worth, 6 for 21 career against Hand with a homer, 5 RBIs, 5 walks.
.380 against lefties this year.
Brad Hand, a part-time starter in Miami last year and the year before. And Worth skips back from a low one. Counts even 1-1.
See if Davey Lopes can pick something up on Brad Hand. One of the best names in baseball right there, folks.
Kevin Quackenbush warming. Matt Thornton's out in that bullpen. Former Nat. One of their 3 lefties. 1-1 to Worth. About to see his 18th pitch of the night. 1 for 3, base hit back in the 3rd, right ahead of the Harper homer. Now they've got Revere picked off, and he's got a shot. He's safe on a high relay from Will Myers. Ben Revere swipes his 6th base of the year. You might as well keep going, right?
Yeah, you have to. If you go first move, you have to keep going. And the feed from Brad Hand to Will Myers was low. Watch Will Myers reach for this. It's down. You'll see it again. But Ben Revere just flat out runs this. And as a first baseman, first of all, you got to come meet it. But second of all, just that little he had to reach to his left, he threw it high. And then Revere under the tag. I think, did he stay on the bag? I think that's what they're looking at right now. I think he did. Boy, you got to be fast to do that. Yeah, but there's no percentage in a rundown in the big leagues. You don't get out of a rundown very often. So if you go first move, he throws over and you're as fast as Ben Revere, beat the relay. And that's what he did.
Second base, nobody out. Now Myers comes way off the bag to protect the hole on the right side. Jason Worth has a hitter's count of 2-1. To the right side, hard hit ball, Solarte. Productive out for Jason. RBI chance for Harper in a lefty-lefty matchup.
That's a good at bat.
Let's go inside the numbers with Jeep. Since the 29th of May, about 2.5 weeks ago, only the Texas Rangers better than the Nationals. Toronto playing well, making a race of it in the AL East with Baltimore and Boston.
The Rangers are so good.
Yeah, they both won tonight. Rangers, Jays.
They are prepared to play deep into October. Ian Desmond made a good choice. And so did they.
Bryce Harper strapping it on, 1 for 3 tonight. Ground ball, 2-run opposite field homer, and a strikeout. And Bryce, 4 career hits against Hand with a home run, 6 RBIs, infield in.
So you feel like that Dusty will go contact play with Ben Revere, meaning he sees the down angle off the bat of Bryce Harper, he's rolling. If you're an infielder for the Padres right now, you better get rid of it quick. And I wonder what that conversation was about. What do we want to do to Bryce Harper right here? He's hit a home run to left. First pitch was fastball in. Maybe that's to make him aware and go with the off speed away. Let's see.
Busting him off the plate well inside twice.
Oh, you see how the book changes once you hit a home run to left? Now they're pounding them in. And if you're wondering about arms, Melvin Upton Jr. left has got a real good one, and it's accurate.
Yeah, he and Matt Kemp both have 6 outfield assists.
Green light him.
Ramos next. Obviously, that would be a lefty-righty matchup if it stays that way.
Now you're going to see Quackenbush if Bryce gets on.
And then Ramos, 2 for 3, single, homer. And they're going to go ahead and walk Bryce and get the double play in order.
Does that go as an intentional walk even though 3 balls weren't?
It is.
Just because the last one was?
Yeah. They intended to walk him.
But they didn't for the majority of the at-bat. Just the last little pitch. Said the dumb analyst who asked a horrible question.
And in a bit of a surprise here, Hand will face Ramos. I guess they figure he wants to take something off speed, turn it over, and get a ground ball.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll first guess this one with you.
Ramos' first base hit tonight. A slow roller up the middle, blasting a homer opposite field, then lining out to right center. There he is trying to get the ground ball, but he misses.
Righties are hitting 282 against Hand, and lefties 169. Wilson obviously sitting on off speed right there to take that fastball in a 1-0 count. That tricked him. Good take.
Nats lead by 1, 7th inning. They've already answered 1 time tonight when San Diego got back to within a run. Wilson Ramos takes it low, ball 3.
Well, he's zoning him up, meaning he's looking for something belt high or above. He's hit all 3 balls on the screws tonight. Even his last out was a bolt to right field.
Three-one pitch.
Well, that's the one he was hunting, maybe a little bit too high, but he was looking for something up. Got it right there. Maybe thinking about bigger things than just a sac fly in a 3-1 count.
Great speed out there. Revere reached on the error, stole second, and then third on a Worth grounder before they walked Bryce. Great speed out there.
Let's see if he goes here.
3-2, 1 out. Harper holding. Ramos walks. In fact, Bryce was moving back to the bag on that pitch. Doesn't matter. Bases loaded, 1 out. Lefty-lefty matchup now with Clint Robinson.
A good at bat by Wilson Ramos, not forcing the issue. Very relaxed, very patient. We've all gotten used to seeing this Wilson Ramos this year. That was the best pitch he had. I think he might have overthought the second one. Happens. Not a big deal. Got a pretty good pitch, 3-1 elevated. Now 3-2, not even close. And Clint Robinson finds himself in the driver's seat here with a big at-bat.
So Nissan showing you those deliveries as Clint Robinson faces Brad Hand for the first time. Low and inside. Not many chances, but many RBIs.
This is where we've seen Clint in the past just think about left field, drive the ball that way, take pull out of the equation.
He jacks that one to left center. Ball well hit. On the run, Jankowski. 2 runners will move up. Scoring is Revere, and the Nats have the answer again at 6-4. And that run scores because of the error that started the inning.
Pretty swing. Pretty swing. That's how you drive in runs at the big league level. Don't think about pull. Think about the other way. The speed of Jankowski was the difference in a bases clearing double or a sac fly, but a great at bat by Clint Robinson. Nice job, Wilson Ramos, of moving the line. And Clint's talking to Stephen Drew about something right now.
So the Nats further into the bullpen. A lot of offense again here tonight. 6-4 Washington.
Show you some Tony Fourbags. So he walked in the fourth. Fielder's choice his first time up, and look where that pitch was. It's not a bad pitch by Eric Janssen. Digs it out 423 feet later. His 7th home run. And there's your wah.
Kevin Quackenbush for the Padres, 27-year-old right-hander, 29th appearance. Not a good ERA. 14 strikeouts, but 11 walks. He hasn't been that hittable, but he's had control issues.
Yeah, fastball 91, curveball 79. There's a curveball.
Rendon 1 for 2 career against him, with a couple of RBIs. Bryce Harper over at third, Ramos at first. The Nats have scored a run here without a hit because of an error, a steal, a couple of walks, and a fly ball. Strike to Rendon. It's 1-1.
Look how low that pitch was he hit out.
Out of his power zone. So does that mean we have to do a little red shading down there?
We got to fix that. That's not right.
Cool.
Tighten it up down there.
Some guys' power zones get bigger as the season goes on.
That's right.
Rendon to right center. And that ball is run down by Matt Kemp. Wow, the Nats have hit some rockets in this game. They've scored 6. They could have 8 or 9. Caught. That was a rocket. He could have 8 or 9 runs tonight, just like the Nats.
Run till they tag you. Keep going. Don't stop. Base hit. No, he's right.
What's with the adults taking all the hits away out there? Bottom of the 7th, Blake Trinan, 27-year-old right-hander, appearance number 29, hasn't pitched a lot lately. Just 21 hits in 27 innings, 28 Ks, 13 walks.
Attack mode right here, right now. Go after these guys. Like that.
That's a good start.
for the Padres. Top of the order, Jankowski, 1 for 3. Seeing Blake Trinan for the first time, as will a lot of Padres. So Tanner Roark in line for the win. 4 runs, 7 hits in 6 innings. Walked 2, struck out 5, got a big double play ball. Battled. That's a nasty slider. Threw him another one, and that time Jankowski laid off.
That's a good take. Not an easy take by any means. That was a good slider.
Tries to paint away. And Trinan throws it right down the middle. Not sure what Travis Jankowski was thinking there. 1 out, 7th inning.
When you talk about confidence in your slider, he goes 3-2 slider, and it just catches the top of the strike zone. Jankowski can't believe it. Good pitch by Blake Trinan. Big first out here in the bottom of the 7th.
Next up, Will Myers, seeing Blake for the first time. One for 2, a walk, a run. Ground ball, solo homer, 5th inning.
Is this your complimentary chopper off the plate against Blake Trinan right here?
Might be. Either this guy or the next one.
He leads all the baseball in that. Right-handers hitting the ball right off the plate, either for a hit or a tough play by the defense. And if you're wondering why, it's because of that sink. It's true sink. It doesn't just run into a right-hander. It goes in and down. All you can do is hit the top of the ball.
That is so filthy for a right-handed batter. 1-2.
Nice. Lane changer. Strong stash working too.
Goes to 3-2 again after getting ahead of both hitters. Blake still trying to master the art at the major league level of putting hitters away. Left-hander Ryan Buchter for the Padres. The Nats have Drew Espinosa in the pitcher spot coming up. A little bit low with that slider. There's Matt Kemp. Tying run stepping into the batter's box against Trinan. Career 2 for 4. Fine running catch on that blast by Rendon a few minutes ago.
Well, this is a good matchup for Blake if he can execute the fastball in and the slider away like we've been talking about all night with Matt Kemp. Pound him in, slider away. Pound him in, slider away. Looks like they're going to start away.
Base hit. Fastball right down the middle. Maybe a little toward the outer half, and Kemp got around it. 2 on, 1 out.
Yeah, you let him get extended, you do him a favor. And the fastball up and right down the middle is not going to be missed by Matt Kemp very often. Oh, all of a sudden we got a little drama here late in San Diego.
Yeah, the Nats keep scoring. The Padres keep chipping back. Last time Blake pitched was last Saturday in a scoreless ninth inning with 2 strikeouts in the 8-0 win over the Phillies behind Tanner Roark. So Sammy Solis gearing it up again. Solarte sees Trinan for the first time. And a ball laced to center. Revere's got it. Throw to second. And it gets through. Trying to get a double play on Will Myers, and on a ball absolutely crushed, Ben Revere makes a very difficult play.
Beautiful play. I mean, you have to be ready for the baseball to make this play, and Ben Revere with a great jump. The low line drive I always talk about, it's the toughest play for a center fielder. Watch the jump of Ben Revere, makes a little correction and almost doubles up Will Myers at second base. Great play by the Nats center fielder. Gutsy play too, because if that gets by him, everybody's running until they tag you. Great jump by Ben Revere. And I don't know that a good throw would have got him. He got back. But a big out.
Yeah, 2 outs. Melvin Upton Jr. 1 for 3 against Blake Trinan. And having a good night. Manufactured them a run 2 innings ago with a base hit, 2 steals. So he's had a big night, driving in a run earlier.
Padres credit, they're fighting.
First couple of weeks of the season, they could not buy a run or more than 1 run a game. They've come alive in the warmer weather now.
Was it ever cold here?
Well, they had to play on the road some.
True.
But their offense was sure cold. That thing had a little backup action to it, it appeared. And Upton very late pulling the trigger. That's the same pitch on which Jankowski struck out, and it's 0-2. So right now, Jerry Davis with that breaking ball, a high zone.
Yeah, it's not where you want to throw the breaking ball. You're in Melvin Upton Jr. obviously sitting fastball on a 0-1 count.
Six-4 ball game, bottom of the 7th. Padres have actually out-hit the Nats 8-7. Another breaking pitch, and it's fouled out of play.
You know, I might be wrong. I haven't seen Melvin Upton Jr. in a long time, but I just think that 96 feeding onto his hands here. You start down the middle, let it run. If you can do that, you're Blake trying to execute that pitch. You got him. You know, what's he going to do with it? Pull it foul, maybe.
Yeah.
If he hits it, you're thinking it's going to be a ground ball to third. So you've thrown him 3 sliders in a row. Big league hitters make adjustments when they see 3 or 4 pitches in a row. So you have to change right here. Unless you bounce a slider, you're thinking the inside half is open.
Yeah, with the fastball, you may not have to throw a strike to get the strikeout. So he takes him up the ladder. Oh, 2. Don't have to throw him a strike. That's outside. Got him! Buried the breaking ball. And a long inning for Blake Treinen, bookended by strikeouts. A walk, a hit, and a scorcher to Revere in between. So the Nats defense comes up big. Treinen does get the 0 in the 7th inning. The Nats still lead. Lots of action. Long inning for Treinen. 20 pitches, 12 strikes. His stuff gets him out of it with help from Ben Revere. And here's Stephen Drew, top of the 8th, as Kevin Quackenbush is still in for his second Washington batter. Drew facing the right-hander for the first time. Felipe Rivero warming for the 8th, and then there's the 9th. We'll see.
You didn't know what to say.
Drew lifting one to right, and he hooks it foul.
Wow, I mean, he is barreling up everything. Stephen Drew is a dangerous hitter. And I'm not even going to say right now, he's just a dangerous hitter. Because if you say right now, you're taking away from a guy that's extremely talented. Just got around that one. But he is making some noise.
Two-run lead, top 8. Nats might need more. That's a good take, and the count's even. Maybe Chris Heisey. There is one left-handed bat in there, Daniel Murphy, but might have the entire evening off. And Drew hits another ball hard and foul.
Oh, 5-hole.
Too hot to handle.
Maybe to the glove side for the goal.
Staying alive with the foul tip.
seen at large.
And a 3-2 pitch. Wow, Will Myers elevating for the first out. He's 6'3", but those were some hops right there.
That's a great at-bat by Stephen Drew. It's a hang with him. I mean, you can't do anything more. And I'm wondering if Solarte gets to this ball. He was playing right behind Myers. Probably hit too hard, but Will Myers climbing the ladder as high as you can jump, robbing Stephen Drew of what would have been his second hit of the night. He is locked in.
I think if he stays healthy, in 2 years he'll be one of the top 15 players in this league. He is really good. Just been banged up.
I haven't seen enough of him to agree or disagree. I don't know.
I've talked to some people in the American League who had him on their ball clubs, and they all said if this guy can stay healthy, he'll be so impressive. So here's Espinosa 0 for 2 with a walk. There's Chris Heisey on deck. Danny Espinosa 0 for 1 career against the right-hander Quackenbush. Can't get to the high heater. 2-2.
There's a lot of teams when a guy gets into the on-deck circle off the bench that fans are going, what are you doing? Why are you pinch hitting him? Whoever Dusty Baker throws up there, you're like, oh yeah, that's a good move. Because his bench has been so good. You know, whether it's Chris Heisey, Stephen Drew, Michael Taylor, doesn't matter.
Espinosa looks at one on the inside edge. Danny 0 for 3 with a walk tonight. And here comes Chris Heisey to hit for Blake Trinan. And he'll be seeing the San Diego right-hander for the first time.
Likes that first one. I'm sure the Padres are aware of that.
4 for 15 as a pinch hitter with a single and 3 solo home runs.
That's why he got the curveball.
And another, that went a little further down to get into the strike zone. There's the heater, and he missed. Further upstairs, 3-1.
Get you a good one and let it rip. The White House Historical Association brings us our third bobblehead of the 2016 season. This time honoring racing president Bill Clinton. No, that's Herbert Hoover on Sunday, July 3rd. The first 25,000 fans at Enter Nationals Park get this special Herbert Hoover bobblehead. Reds are in town. Visit nationals.com for more info.
Two hopper, third baseman Ryan Schimpf. And the Nats go 1-2-3 in the top of the 8th inning. Bunch of outs yet to get. 2-run lead. 6 of them remaining.
Job of getting out of a jam that he kind of created for himself. A good slider right here. Nice play by Ben Revere. Great play by Ben Revere. That's better than nice. And then how about this nasty slider to Melvin Upton Jr. to end the inning. Nicely done, Blake Trinan. It's time for Toyota K's for Kids. Washington area Toyota dealers want to help children and their families by making a donation of $37 to the Children's Inn at NIH for every strikeout by Nats pitcher this season.
6'4" Nats, 24-year-old Felipe Rivero is next. 33rd appearance. 37 strikeouts in 29 innings. Felipe's given up a couple of home run balls lately, 4 on the year. Not that many hits total in the innings he's pitched. 21 hits, 29 innings. These Padres have not seen him. One of them has, Hector Sanchez, who's hurt. And it's Ryan Schimpf 0 for 3, Christian Bethancourt 0 for 3, and then Alexi Amarista. Fastball upstairs. Same spot, 2-0. Ball 3. Not very close with any of those, and the leadoff man's on. With more on the bullpen, here's Dan.
Bob, after Jonathan Papelbon landed on the DL a few days ago, Dusty Baker said he wasn't exactly sure how he'd handle his closer spot. Yesterday, he played the matchups, going with Matt Belisle and Oliver Perez, and at least in that case, it backfired. Today, Dusty said he'd like to now avoid the closer by committee approach and go with more set roles. With Trinan going last inning and Rivero this inning, you would think if the Nationals maintain a lead in the 9th, might be Sean Kelly in that closer spot.
Yeah, Kelly more of a veteran guy. Felipe and Trinan still trying to master the strike zone at the big league level. Bethancourt didn't like that hook called for a strike. 0 for 3 with an RBI ground ball.
If for whatever reason you have to ask Felipe, he seems so much more comfortable against right-handers and left-handers. I mean, good curveball, good changeup to an 0-2 count.
And the 0-2. Swing and a miss. Not a great at bat for Bethancourt. That first call seemed to rattle him the rest of the AB, and that's 1 out here in the 8th.
So first pitch slider, second pitch changeup, third pitch changeup, and Bethancourt maybe still thinking about that first strike and letting that affect the rest of his at-bat. Good pitch by Felipe.
Amarista 2 for 3 tonight. Chance to get out of the inning. Espinosa with the gun. And a 4-6-3. Felipe Rivero in very quick fashion, recovering from a leadoff walk.
Well, I love watching Danny Espinosa come flying across the bag. Watch this throw. Good feed by Stephen Drew, and then let it eat, Danny. Boom. Right on the money. Nicely done.
on Masson, brought to you by American Standard Heating and Air. It's their all-star sales event with up to $1,100 in instant rebates or 0% APR for 36 months, and by your local Kia dealers. Visit Kia Dealers, that's DCKiaDealers.com to learn more. Matt Thornton, 2 years for the Nats, 78 ball games, encompassing around 53 innings. This will be his 7th appearance for the Padres.
You see the percentage of fastballs. He likes to throw the heater. We knew that as a Nat. He was a good Nat. We enjoyed watching him out of the bullpen.
Whoa. And Revere to his knees. Heard that one go by.
Do the limbo. Look out, Ben. That's right at the tower.
2-0. Ben Revere, career against Thornton, 2 for 9 with a double, a couple of strikeouts. Matt Thornton will be 40 years old in the middle of September. Ball 3.
Good for him.
Way inside. And Ben Revere's going to gather himself and put everything back together and run down to first base.
Yeah, that was a scary at bat for Ben, no doubt.
He must have felt like he was in a shooting gallery right there. Next up, Jason Worth, 0 for 1 career, with a walk against Thornton. That's a bouncer that'll get through for Jason Worth, and Revere scampers over to third without a play. Jason Worth, another multi-hit game, 2 for 5 tonight, and with Bryce Harper coming up, the Nats poised maybe to put this one away.
Look at the middle, wide open for Jason Worth. Stay hot, Jason Worth. And Ben Revere coming around second. I mean, he was just cruising, in cruise control, if you will, but flying around second base. Jankowski had no chance. How confident are you if you're Bryce Harper right now based on the pitches thrown to Ben Revere?
Bryce facing Matt for the first time.
How comfortable maybe is a better way to put it.
Yeah. Not 2. Probably the answer at this point. Each team with 8 hits. Bryce on base twice tonight with a 2-run homer. Walked intentionally in the 7th. Snap throw to third, and down the line it goes. Bethencourt throws one away. Jason Worth is going to end up at third base, and the Nationals lead 7-4. Boy, he gave his third baseman little chance on that one.
I mean, these are the type of plays you see in a ball club that we as Nats fans are spoiled. You don't see stuff like this when you're in first place, but when you're the Padres and you're 14 games out, you see sloppy play like this. A free run for the Nats, and Jason Worth going all the way first to third, and then kind of an interesting slide here for Jason. Just chilling on top of the bag.
Infield in. Harper out to center. That ball dropping, and it's a base hit, trapped by Jankowski, and Bryce Harper has 3 RBIs. The Nationals lead 8-4.
Well, the inside-out swing going the other way, thinking about left field. You see the swing by Bryce. He took pull out of that. And a pretty good effort by Travis Jankowski in center field, but you see the ball hit the ground. You got to love that effort, though. Bryce Harper will take his second knock, his 3rd RBI, as you said. And a big night for the Nats right fielder.
Still nobody out. Wilson Ramos now. Ramos 1 for 2 career against Thornton.
I mean, I know the Nats are a really good ball club and they're set to win this year. But I think a lot of times, even myself, we get spoiled watching this ball club play. They're so flawless on defense all the time. They give you good at-bats. Their pitching, their rotation, their bullpen is also amazing. That when you see baseball like this, I feel like it's a good time to realize as a fan, if you're still up with us and you're watching, how lucky we all are to see a good team on a nightly basis like we do. I mean, you don't see Wilson Ramos launch him in the left. You don't see Danny Espinosa booting balls. You don't see, I mean, these guys are locked down every single night, and we've got used to such a good brand of baseball that a lot of times we get nitpicky on, oh, this guy's not doing well, and you find bad things about this club when there's so many good things to watch on a nightly basis.
Ramos a swing and a miss. Slider at 86, and that's the first out in the 9th inning. Byron Kerr is in the studio this weekend with Ray Knight. Tune into the Nats Extra Postgame Show presented by W.B. Mason. When this one's over. Clint Robinson against Matt Thornton. First matchup. This all started with a leadoff walk.
And I think, Carp, you of all people know, you watch this for a lot of years every night.
Yeah, those were the good old days.
I mean, you did.
We watched some Nats ball clubs back then that had a lot of offense. Very mediocre starting pitching. And bullpens who were doing what they could to keep it reasonable. And it was tough night after night. You fans know what I'm talking about. And there were defensive craziness type things happening all the time. And then came the draft and the high draft choices and the turnabout and Mike Rizzo and the commitment by the Lerners. And now we're watching one of the best ball clubs in the game. Talked about this numerous times. Mike, he's an old bird dog scout. He doesn't want to sit upstairs behind the glass in a suite sipping something and having a piece of cheese. He wants to be down there on the field with his guys. There he is.
He didn't sip anything ever. He didn't even know what that word means.
That's what I'm saying. He never does it.
I know.
Out to short. So the Nats pick up 2 runs, and if Felipe Rivero stays in the game, he's in line for a save here, even though it's 8-4. Tomorrow night, Joe Ross. Kind of hoped he'd pitch against his brother, but Tyson's on the DL right now. Joe's 5-4, 3.01 ERA, right-handers 196. Christian Friedrich, Nats saw him once last year. He's 3-1 with a 2.12. He's only given up 1 home run. We'll get you going. Nats Extra, Byron and Ray at 10 p.m. tomorrow night. That's on Masson 2. Tyson Ross has made 1 start this year. Michael A. Taylor in center. And Ben Revere shuffles over to left. It's a straight up switch with Felipe Rivero still in the ball game.
For a couple of lefties, and then we'll see what happens.
First up, John Jay. Former St. Louis Cardinal, having a pretty good season out here. Over his career, he's hit .286 against the Nats. And he bounces one. Rendon swats it down, and that's a base hit.
Well, Rendon in for the bunt. Jay hits it right off the plate. Anthony gives it a great effort. You wonder if that ball got in the lights a little bit as far as he could stretch to get it. Good effort. Not a whole lot you can do about that one.
Top of the order and some work to do. Jankowski, but then it's Myers and Kemp after that. And a 1-1 from Rivero. Brings it in front door over the inside edge. Sean Kelly. Maybe for Kemp.
I'd say Myers.
Yeah, because well, Myers couldn't tie the game, but you don't want it any closer than it is right now. So we'll see how Dusty plays it. Top of the 9th, those 2 runs making a huge difference here. Felipe on 2-2. Now you have to go after the left-handed hitter with big guns coming up. Bouncing ball. Espinosa looking to get the lead runner. Nats will settle for that. 1 out.
Well, good play by Danny. I thought he might run through it and go to first base, but he hit the brakes, set up nice, and made a good feed to Stephen Drew to get the first out here in the 9th.
So here's Myers, 1 for 2. 2 walks and a solo homer.
Looks like he called it, Carp.
Yeah, but I think if they'd had 2 men on, it would have been Kelly time.
Oh, it's a good pitch.
That's a bullet. Close to being right at the knees. Ball 2. That shows that either or both could have been strikes. gets that call on 3-0. Into right. Harper. And it looks like the ball stuck at the bottom of the scoreboard. Running out there is first base umpire Carlos Torres, and that's a ground rule double. PA guy in the press box was already announcing Myers' 16th home run of the year, but that ball stuck in there and Bryce can't get it out.
You're not even going to try.
There it stays.
I had no idea where that ball was because of the lights in the scoreboard. I had no idea. Bryce obviously right there, he saw it, but it kind of ricochets off the fence, short hops into there, and it's wedged tightly. And those last 3 outs of a game are a whole different animal if you've never done it before. That's why the closers get paid the big bucks.
So did this ball go out of the ballpark and then end up down there? I don't know.
I don't know if I lost it in the lights or went behind the sign. I have no idea.
Now that there's so much electronic noise on outfield walls with scoreboards and advertisements and everything, these become tricky things. So here's Sean Kelly. Looks like where the ball is wedged, it had to come in from the field side.
Yeah, had to.
So anyway, it's Sean Kelly. Padres are making this interesting. Still 2 outs to get. Souvenir. And Sean Kelly to try to close this out, and because 2 men are on and the tying runs in the on deck circle, safe situation.
A fastball, mid-90s, slider to go with it. Opponent's hitting 172.
Kelly first save as a Nat last weekend against the Phils. He has 5 in his career. Matt Kemp facing him for the first time. Fastball outside. Ball 2. Impressive numbers for Matt Kemp. 1 RBI tonight, 44 on the year.
Kelly gets one to the outside edge.
Good pitch. And if you're Dusty, you're just hoping that somebody takes the bull by the horns and runs with this thing until Jonathan Papelbon's back, right? You want to see somebody whose confidence is growing on a daily basis when you throw him in these safe situations. This is a big opportunity right now for Sean Kelly.
Jerry Davis has not been giving the low strike, so that's 3-1. Nats by 4. And the Padres a pitch away from having the tying run in the batter's box. That ball hit Kemp's foot on its way over to third. And the count 3-2 with 1 out.
I'll tell you why I like Sean Kelly. Because he throws fastballs away to right-handers. He's the guy that's going to make you beat him to the big part of the park. He rarely challenges guys in where there can be some damage done. He's got a great slider to go with it. He has the mentality and the makeup. So you'd think he's the logical choice, but being a Tommy John guy, how often can you run him out there? You know, what's his recovery schedule like? And I think that's a big question that Dusty Baker has. But right now, he seems to be the guy, and a big pitch coming.
Kemp in the air, high in the air to center. Padres will get a run out of this. Rivera makes the grab. One runner moves up, rather Taylor makes the grab. One runner moves up, and that's Jankowski making it an 8-5 game, but a big out.
A 4-run lead, throw strikes, let your defense work, big out. Nice pitch.
Solarte now also has never faced Sean Kelly. That run charged to Felipe Rivero. He's also responsible for Will Myers on second base. Slider right in there. Nationals trying to go 17 over 500 for the first time. And Kelly has him 0-2. That's one of the best road records in baseball, 21-13. Mets won their ball game earlier tonight over the Pirates, so an out here puts another half game back on that, and back to 5 games it goes. And that's a long, loud foul ball. Joe Ross tomorrow night. That's extra at 10. Scherzer Saturday.
Those two guys are Warrior fans right there. Max Scherzer and Joe Ross. They're not happy tonight. Happy about their ball club if they get another out, though.
Kelly trying to bolt the outside corner, just missed. Count goes to 1-2. That's a good 0-2 pitch. And a one hopper. Drew, go get some sleep, Nats. You guys deserve it. Hard fought after a long night of travel. 8-5 win here in San Diego in game 1. Roark the winner. Tanner 6 and 4. Kelly a second save.
And Bryce Harper goes opposite field for a big 2-run homer back in the third. And then Ramos went back-to-back. Join us tomorrow night. Game 2 will get you going with